Week 9 in the books. We're in double-digit parts of the season. Week 10 is here. It's actually insane how quickly the football season goes by. Just like the amount of time we spend, especially here internally, right, at BDGE, and just in here internally inside my brain, that we spend focused on the football season, and then it goes like that. And then you start thinking about life, right? You start thinking about how quickly things go. We're not going to go down that path today, though. We could have a discussion about it. We do have discussions about that on on the podcast I do with Jack Settleman called Big Content, if anyone gives a fuck. We talk about life, liberty, content, media, sports media in particular, YouTube, social, all that kind of stuff. If you're a creator, if you want to be a creator, go search for Big Content on YouTube. You'll see my big, stupid fucking face. Let's also look at Bryce Young's big, stupid fucking face right here because, oh, no, wait, is that Thursday? That's for Thursday. But they also have a free square for Monday night tonight. I don't know whose tonight is. I don't even know what the game is. I think it's Justin Herbert. But we'll just talk about how on Thursday night or tonight, whenever you sign up for Underdog, they're going to give you an absolutely free square on the platform, okay? My brain, I could tell my brain's working. This is going to be a great stream for you guys. I'm working in double time. It's like I have two brains working simultaneously together to spit out knowledge and facts at a normal 2-for-1 price. But if you guys want to never use your brain again and still win money, the easiest way to do that is by going on Underdog. We're giving away picks pretty much every video that we put out, a ton on TikTok as well. Shout out J-Mo, went 4 for 4 yesterday. He hits at 100% rate when he feels good, when he has more than 6.5 hours of sleep. That's a fact. That's a stat, not an opinion. But Justin Herbert will have a 0.5-yard line tonight, and then Bryce Young will have a 0.5-yard line for Thursday. So if you sign up, if you get on there, and you use our code BDGE, if it's your first time depositing, they're going to hit you with a 100% deposit match up to $100. And then things get fun, okay? We're about to have some fun. It's Monday. You know, we do this recap every single Monday, sometimes 2 p.m., sometimes 3 p.m., sometimes 4 p.m. It don't matter. We're here. So make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you got notifications turned on so it lets you know when we go live. I'm going to go through every single game from yesterday and on Thursday night. So Thursday night, yesterday, this is just a coaster. See, still there. Enough. We're going to go through every game. Talk about the biggest takeaways, fantasy-wise, football life, all that stuff in between, outside of, etc. I'm ready to dive in if you are. And also, just a reminder, throughout these videos, I try to get dialed in, so I don't typically check the chat going on. Otherwise, I'd have too many distractions going on. I don't answer super chats during these, so please save your money. Buy your kids something for Christmas, you know. Buy me something for Christmas, but don't super chat me because I'm not going to answer it, and then I feel like a dick for not answering super chats. So let's jump into the Thursday night football game. And always, if at any point you are enjoying the stream, you find yourself chuckling a little bit, head downstairs. Not like fucking physically downstairs in your apartment, but like downstairs on YouTube, and hit the button that looks like this, please. Please, Lord. Bang. Now we can sit back, relax, tuck our shirts in. Actually, the problem, I can't really show you tucking my shirt in because the zipper on my jeans popped. The zipper on my jeans popped. So there's no actual like zipper. It's all the way down the whole time. It's kind of a problem. Walking around with a schlong out. Pause. Just know we're tucked. Just know it. Just feel it in your bones. All right. Let's start with Thursday Night Football. I zoomed in a little bit, so it takes up a little bit more of the screen. I hope you guys are okay with this setup. The biggest takeaway for me is that I still feel very good about Will Levis. Didn't have the stat that he had, the week prior, but everything that I'm seeing from him makes me feel very confident that he's going to be, at least the near and quite possibly intermediate future for the Tennessee Titans. I hope they just let him rip for the rest of the year. Here's the thing, like, a lot of guys come into the league and they're timid or they're pass shy or they only want to like go down their first read. And it's hard for them to develop if they're not put into situations where they're like testing out their ability, you know? And Will Levis, while not every throw is accurate, his arm strength and his like delivery is translating. There's tons of times where like guys with arm strength come into the NFL and it doesn't translate because their processing is terrible. And there are a number of other things kind of happening that I feel like are awful. But Will Levis looks and feels like a real NFL QB. And there will be things that tighten up and make it a lot more palatable for Titans fans for sure. But if I'm a Titans fan, he has single-handedly like reignited and re-excited me as a fan and as a franchise and as the face of the franchise, hopefully. So, big takeaway is Will Levis still looks good. On the other side of the ball, I don't think there were any real takeaways. Kenny Pickett still to this day, only has one game of 2 passing touchdowns. That is crazy. So while we have excitement on one side of the ball with Tennessee and that fan base, it's almost like you have the opposite of excitement for a dude like Kenny Pickett. And listen, when you're running the ball like they did, where you got Warren ripping off 8 yards a carry and Najee Harris ripping off 4.3 yards a carry, which is like a career high for him. Never seen anything like it from him. You can be okay with 160 passing yards, 5.3 yards per attempt. And weirdly enough, if the season ended today, every single team in the AFC North would get into the playoffs. All 4 of them. I don't really even know how the rules allow that. I'm glad they do, though, because like if you're a bomb-ass team and you're in your fourth place, but you deserve to be in, you still get in. That's how it is now. I guess first place and then 3 playoff teams. Yeah, whatever. They'd all get in, which is cool, right? So realistically, we could say that I'd feel shitty if I was a Pittsburgh fan, but again, you're in the playoff race. But so were the Falcons up to this week, so like, I don't know. No real takeaways. I mean, the backfield is still split. When they have bad games and don't win, they're not going to play well. Deontay Johnson is back to being like the alpha here. That should not be a surprise to anyone. George Pickens is, throwing tantrums and shit. He could have hauled in a play that would have had a touchdown for him. It still wouldn't have had a big day, but it would have had a bigger day. But for me, the only real takeaways are like Deontay Johnson in every week, wide receiver 2 with upside. George Pickens is kind of like a up and down coaster right now, but I still think he belongs in lineups. I think Jaylen Warren just doesn't score touchdowns realistically. Najee Harris starting to score a few touchdowns here and there. I think, again, both of them are like they were startable this week because there were some high-powered offenses and players and C-Mac and ETN and all these running backs on bye. In a normal week, I still have them on the fringe of like RB3 flex-ish that I don't feel great about. Their next few games are the Packers, which you could definitely play them against. The Browns, which is a tough defense, but a much tougher pass defense, I think, than run defense. And then you have Bengals, Cardinals, so not an overwhelming schedule by any means. And then the Colts, whatever. I still think they just sit where they were kind of coming into the game. One, like, semi-efficient game does not change the tune I have for that backfield. Now we go to Germany. Go to Germany where, listen, the narrative about Miami like can't beat good teams, I get it. And Kansas City defense is like elite, all this kind of sheesh. There's part of me that buys it. There's part of me that doesn't buy it. This felt like more of like an unlucky game for Miami. There were some drops off the fingertips. There was like, Wild got hurt right away, came back in. There was this strip by Kansas City on Tyreek Hill that was like the entire game-changing momentum of the, all that kind of shit. So do I think Kansas City is so much better than Miami? No, I don't. I think if these two teams played 10 times, Kansas City probably wins 6 times. But they walked away with the win here. Nothing really to take away. I think Miami has a bye next week coming up. What do we have, 11-19 for the next game? Yep. So they have a bye next week, and then after that, they play they'll have Devon Achane back. Jeff Wilson did get a semi-significant portion of the touches here. He got 4 targets, so he led the backfield in touches. When Achane comes back, I imagine Achane will kind of take the role that he had before. Like, he has a role regardless of who else is operating in the backfield. I think Wilson will get, a few touches here and there, but I do think, again, the Wilson will probably be the odd man out. It'll be Raheem. It'll be Achane. It'll be a lot of what we saw in the middle of the season when Achane was healthy. So coming off of bye, I am completely fine as long as the reports say that Achane is like healthy and good to go. I'm completely fine, completely fine starting both of them right away into like RB2 slots with, obviously a ton of upside. Waddle, Hill, everything else is normal. On the KC side, Kelsey down game, no other takeaways. Like you're starting Pacheco for the most part. Rashee Rice, kind of disappointing that only 2 targets came his way. But he did score a touchdown again. He continues to score touchdowns, man. He continues to be a guy that I want in my lineups pretty much every week because he's getting it done one way or another. I kind of want to see if he has progressed at all from a snap count perspective. Week 8, MVS still 63. Sky Moore dipped down to around 30% of the routes, which is big for Rashee Rice, but it didn't really amount to anything. At least we're seeing more consistent play time for Rashee Rice. Like beginning of the year, this was unsurprising. This is typically what we see from like rookies. 27%, 13, 51, 47, 23. And then it becomes Rashee Rice is like a part of our offense, right? 50, 65, 60, 60. So I'd imagine it'll stay around this mark. Maybe we'll see a couple games where he kind of bumps up to the 70, 75% range. But I think we'll continue to see that type of play. It's annoying that Watson keeps getting like 71% of the snaps. That shit needs to stop. We need to stop fucking around. But yeah, I guess like Mecole Hardman coming back, he needs to not come back. He needs to go back to where he came from. No one else is startable. I mean, obviously you're still starting Pacheco, Kelsey, etc. I would definitely still start Rashee Rice. This shit made me sick. This shit made me absolutely fucking sick. The Atlanta Falcons are literally like the worst TV show of all time. They are the worst TV show every single week of all time. Yet I can't take my fucking eyes off of it. Josh Dobbs pretty much walked off the plane and won this game. I don't know what to say. It's hard for me to gather myself when Arthur Smith comes on my screen. He makes me so infuriatingly mad. It's like they always do some dumb shit and then zoom into his fucking mustache. Like I just can't do it anymore. I just can't. I'm done watching the show. I'm moving on to another show. Or I'll return like next season, I'll watch the recap. I'll read the fucking wiki recap. And then I'll start watching again next season when hopefully I'm just praying we have like one of the characters gets killed in the last episode kind of thing. So that next season we could start with someone new, someone better. I don't know what to do here. Does anyone have advice? I'm over here reading Don't Kill Myself books. That's a joke. Enough. Dobbs. The biggest takeaway here is that Dobbs is going to make everybody serviceable in this offense. This is a huge get for the Vikings. Not only does it make Addison, Hawkinson, and now Madison, maybe Osborne if he's not dead, actually, usable, but it also, they're on a 4-game win streak, which is fucking nuts. They're somehow 4-1 on the road, 1-3 at home. It makes the return of Justin Jefferson a lot more likely. They're fighting for a playoff spot. Like, this can happen, man. They can absolutely sneak into the playoffs, and Justin Jefferson wants to be out there to compete for that. So this is a huge dub for Josh Dobbs and the Minnesota Vikings here. Cam Akers ruptured his other Achilles. That's devastating. His career is likely over at this point, which means Alexander Mattison, again, is kind of like backed into a workhorse role, for better or worse. He's going to be probably more of like the RB 20 to 24 in the rankings weekly, maybe in really good matchups. You'll boost him up a little bit. He's shown very little explosiveness. He did have a big, obviously, catch and run in this game, but on a normal week, you're getting like 70 yards on 18 touches, not really efficient. Maybe he'll score a touchdown or two here and there, which he did for this one. So you kind of caught a lucky break here with Dobbs and Akers happening all in the same week. If you got Madison, so he's a nice flex play for you going forward. On the Atlanta side, listen, I know everyone's going to be like, oh, Desmond Ridder, why did you bench Desmond Ridder for Heineke? Heineke was kind of put into, I don't want to say an impossible situation, but dog. With Drake London out, like, what did you expect him to do? Look at his top receivers. Kaderil Hodge, Matt Collins, Van Jefferson. These are like the scraps of other teams. These are like the most embarrassing players from other franchises that we thought would be a good idea to just get together and make some kind of fucking dinner. We put a plate in front of Taylor Heineke, and on that plate, we threw a slop spoonful of mashed potatoes, of corn, of soil, like plant soil. That's what Demir Bird is. And we topped it with ketchup. And then we're like, why don't you like it? Why aren't you eating? Why aren't you finishing your dinner? I don't blame Heineke. Is he good? No. Why the fuck would he? He's not good. He never was a good quarterback. I still think he gives us a better chance to win than Desmond Ridder, though. We just need Drake. We just need Drake London back on the field. Otherwise, all hell breaks loose here. Jonnu Smith continues to be a playmaker. I'm going to continue starting him in leagues that I have him in, or I definitely will be going forward. If we want to talk about Bijan, yeah, I don't really know what to say here. And listen, you could say, oh, they're a 50-50 split. They're not a 50-50 split. This game happened to have been a 50-50 split, but when you look at the actual team, we need a bye week. We need a bye week bad. We need it fucking terribly. And to be honest, I need a break from them. Like, if nothing else, give me the break, please. I need it so bad. So, I mean, when you look at the season, like, oh, they're in a 50-50 split. No, they're not. They're not even close to a 50-50 split. It's 65-37. Like, the rush attempts are kind of close. Algier actually has a couple more rush attempts than him, but routes, targets, short down and distance snaps. The only thing that Tyler Algier is really taking here is these inside the 5 attempts. That's a little problematic here. He's gotten 30%. Bijan has 11%, and everyone's going to go crazy because obviously he's coming off a game where he just had a decent amount of them. We just don't have that many attempts inside the 5-yard line is what it comes down to. If you look at it, like, there are multiple weeks where we have none there. But long down and distance snaps. Look at Bijan up here. 87% on the year. Let me move my dumb ass over here. 2 and 4 minute drills. Nearly 100%. 82, 93, whatever. So, like, yeah, it was a tough day. It's a tough day at the office, as it always fucking is for us as Falcons fans. Better days ahead for Bijan, though. Cardinals and Browns. There's literally nothing to take away from the Cardinals side. Hopefully, Kyler Murray plays next week. I pray to God. I pray to the Lords. For Cleveland, Deshaun Watson returned. And I'm not going to sit here and say he played well. He finished with 2 touchdowns. One of them was a throw off the defender that just popped up and Cooper caught it for a touchdown. And Watson was celebrating like he just threw a dart outside the hashes 30 yards down the field. It was insane. It was ridiculous. So, listen, it was good to see Watson back on the field. It was good to see him get a little momentum going. And I think as the weeks go by, he'll get a little bit healthier and a little bit healthier. And maybe we can catch a little bit of fire down the stretch. But let's not pretend like Arizona's not awful. Like when your defense picks the ball off twice and also sacks Clayton Tune 7 times, your offense better have a good fucking day because the field position is going to be unmatched. Every drive is going to start at midfield. So you better be fucking scoring a few touchdowns. As it relates to the backfield, unsurprisingly, Pierre Strong kind of became the odd man out here. Only 3 carries. Kareem Hunt, 14 for 38. He did get the touchdown score, which has been a theme. He seems to be the guy that they trust down by the end zone. Jerome Ford, though, 20 carries. He has not been efficient whatsoever. Probably still dealing. I mean, he had a high fucking ankle sprain, missed 1 week. So that could absolutely kind of factor into it. But Jerome Ford's so involved, man. 25 touches. That is like some of the quietest 25 touches ever because 25 touches led to about 75 yards for him, which, if you do the math, not great. But him and Kareem Hunt very, 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 very clearly splitting the backfield. And this is an offense where, again, their defense is great. They set him up in good field position. Kareem Hunt is the goal line scoring back here. He's very valuable. I think they're both playable based on the volume that Ford gets and the touchdown opportunities that Kareem Hunt gets. Cooper had a great game. There's no one else really startable in the passing game for the Cleveland Browns. I do want to check something real quick, though, from the receivers on the Browns. Somebody was saying something about Cedric Tillman because DPJ is now – what team did DPJ go to? I can't remember off the top of my head for some reason. He got traded, though, so they needed a new receiver to kind of step in, and it was Cedric Tillman. So Cedric Tillman ran 74% of the routes. Barely got targeted. I like Cedric Tillman, though. If you're in like a very deep league or if he's available on your dynasty waiver wire, I would put something in for him just because Cedric Tillman was very good at Tennessee. Him and Jalen Hyatt were kind of like this duo of wide receiver prospects that were looked at kind of in tandem prior to last year when Hyatt went nuts and won the Blitnikoff. But Cedric Tillman's like a real cool possession receiver that I think could play that DPJ role. So just a little something there. Rams, Packers. Again, not much to take away from the Rams side because Brett Rippon was the QB. They have a bye coming up, and then I believe Stafford and I believe Kyron Williams should also be back. So much better things ahead. We're not worried about Kupp or Puka once Stafford is back in the lineup. On the flip side, good to see Mr. Aaron Jones bike. And this was I was high on Aaron Jones again this week, and for the reason you really got to like pay attention to Matt LaFleur and his coach speak. Man, he kind of just been spitting facts. Like 2 weeks ago, he was like Aaron Jones is not 100%. And we're gonna play him accordingly, and that happened. And then this previous week, he's like, we're letting Aaron Jones rip. We are unleashing that man. And he got 24 touches. 20 for 73 on the ground, got into the end zone, 4 for 26 through the air. So that's a whole lot of carries. And A.J. Dillon reverted to 9 carries for 40 yards. A lot of that probably had to do with the fact that they were beating the Rams pretty much the entire game too. So Jones, for me, is back to being, I don't know if I want to go crazy. He's definitely still needing to earn me saying he's an RB1 going forward, but he's going to be a borderline top 15 option week after week just because his involvement when he's healthy is so high in this offense, and he is obviously super dynamic. They play the Steelers, the Chargers, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Giants, the Bucks, the Panthers, the Vikings. So more often than not, you have matchups that you feel good about. Like I'm not worried about the Steelers as it relates to the running backs. Chargers, Lions are very good. Chiefs, I still think you can get stuff going on the ground against them. Giants are not good. Obviously, Panthers not good. Vikings, whatever. So you have a lot of favorable matchups for Aaron Jones going forward, and this excited me. Outside of him, though, outside of Aaron Jones, there is almost nothing. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen for Watson. Though I will say, Jordan Love, and I guess this is speaking to the bigger picture, though. Like this is why it might not be happening for Christian Watson. Christian Watson beat his man deep, like beautiful route, got the separation. Jordan Love stepped up, threw a deep pass. I was about to say seed or bomb or laser, but that was like the opposite of what it was. He underthrew Christian Watson, and this was like the prototypical Christian Watson got deep, beat his man, QB bombed it up for him, scores a 70-yard touchdown. This happened without that second part. This was the one where Aaron Rodgers would have hit him, and Christian Watson scores on the unlikely 70-yard touchdown. This is the difference between this year and last year. This is the difference between Christian Watson every game from the previous game. They're just not connecting on the deep balls. Jordan Love has kind of just become a shell of himself, sacked 4 times in this game. He's not completing those passes that open up the offense. You know? It's unfortunate. But Watson was fucking so close to another huge game. But even if he brings that in, it's still 2 catches, right? 2 catches, maybe 80 yards, 90 yards, and a touchdown. So, yeah, at this point, I don't know how he's really startable. Commanders, Pats. Sam Howell supposedly penciled in as the quarterback of the future, but those things are fluky. I never really understand why those reports like kind of just like surface now. They're never hard reports. Like Sam Howell is being looked at as a quarterback of the future. It's like, cool, okay, he has like 3 bad games in a row, and then all of a sudden he's not the quarterback of the future anymore. So kind of a pointless report in my opinion, but I do agree with it. Like I do think Howell has done well enough to compete in this league and give his team a chance to win if the pieces are around him. And they have a good offense, man. For the most part, they have a good offense. They got B-Rob cooking a little bit again, so you can feel more confident throwing him back into the lineup. 18 for 63 and a touchdown on the ground. Through the air, business as usual for Terry. Jahan Dotson, another big game. 8 targets, 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. We're starting to see a little bit of the splits here with and without Curtis Samuel. Is this a product of Jahan Dotson just being good and being the guy that we thought he was coming into the year, and now things are kind of breaking right for him? I think it's less that and more Curtis Samuel being out, to be honest with you. I think normally if Curtis Samuel's in a game like this, Dotson's target numbers probably drop down to around 5, which he's kind of been at steadily all year. That's the heartbeat going on there for his target numbers. And until Curtis Samuel comes back, though, I think you have to feel relatively good about starting Jahan Dotson for now as like a wide receiver 3. He has scored in back-to-back weeks. It's not always pretty. He's still dropping some really relatively easy balls from week to week, which is kind of uncharacteristic for him, but it is happening. So Terry, Jahan, Sam Howell, they're quietly a nice little fantasy trio for you. The Seahawks, they got absolutely sheeted on by the Ravens, but they're normally a pretty good defense. The Giants are terrible. The Cowboys are really good. The Dolphins are not good. The Rams are not good. The Jets are great. The 49ers are very good. So they have very obvious matchups where you could play guys and very obvious matchups where you don't want to play guys. And I think that's kind of the beauty of having Sam Howell on your team. Like, I don't want to play him at Dallas, but I want to play him at home against the Giants, and I want to play him at home against Miami. Like, that's kind of been his MO most of the year. On the flip side, we got the Pats, who are just disgusting. Ramondre Stevenson finally has like a breakaway play, 64-yard touchdown run, but besides that, everything else is kind of gross in this offense, as per usual. Demario Douglas was the guy that we were like sneaky high on. 5 for 55, 7 targets, which tied for the team lead. This kind of feels like what he's going to do every week, right? With Kendrick Bourne on the IR. Also, Devontae Parker should probably be back next week because he's dealing with a concussion, and that's usually an average of 1 week missed. So when he's back, maybe that hurts. Maybe that hurts Juju. Maybe that hurt. I'm not sure who that hurts, actually. We could probably check out the aligned. Let's check out the alignments from the game yesterday. See who was running routes where. You know Devontae Parker's ass ain't running in the Schlotzkis. Mike Gesicki, 40 routes. Hunter Henry, 39. Demario Douglas, 38. Slot route, slot percentage. So they have their tight ends running as their slot weapons. It's kind of interesting. So Demario Douglas only took 36% of his routes from the slot, 64% out wide. Rager, big snap guy yesterday. Juju actually only ran 19 routes, which is kind of interesting given that he was targeted so heavily, and he only ran 5% of his routes from the slot. That's so interesting, man. You think that the Patriots bringing Juju in like would understand what he's good at, and it's not playing outside. He can't separate. He can't beat man coverage, but he's great at finding zone. He's great at finding the soft spots in the zone and eating them up that way. But he only ran 19 routes and got targeted 7 times, which is a very, very, very high target per route rate run. Target per route run rate. Yeah, that was correct. So maybe something to keep an eye on. We'll see what happens when Devontae Parker returns. He's like the Justin Watson of the Patriots, where he doesn't actually ever do anything, but he just like ruins it for everybody else. He just takes half of the snaps, which normally would be like targets for other people, and just fucking ruins it. That's what Parker is. But in PPR, Douglas, maybe Juju, I don't know. Bears Saints, I can't, like, there was no reason for this game to be this close. The Saints gave the ball back to the Bears for a chance to tie like 7 times in this game. Hopefully Justin Fields is back next week. We saw Deontay Foreman just control the backfield again. I do think that Khalil Herbert probably gets off the IR as soon as Justin Fields is back too, so that makes shit messy in the backfield. Though Deontay Foreman is for sure carved out a role. When Khalil Herbert comes back, Roschon Johnson is pretty much the prospect I thought he was going to be coming out, but everyone has these like magic fairy wishes that he was going to be the fucking GOAT somehow. But clearly he is not making an impact on this offense. Yeah, nothing else. Cole Kmet looked great, made a couple fucking circus catches. He was awesome. He's definitely just startable as a tight end in fantasy going forward, just because there's not a lot of tight ends to start in fantasy outside of Mr. Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is, I don't know if I can name, like, what tight ends would I rather own than Taysom Hill in fantasy going forward? It's like Kelsey, it's Andrews, It's like Laporta. Who else is up here right now? I got to look at these. I got to look at the tight end rankings right now. So in half PPR, Kelsey's the 1, shocking. Mark Andrews is the 2, Hawkinson is the 3, Laporta is the 4. Dude, I would put Hill. Hill's in this tier for sure. He's in the Hawkinson-Laporta tier. I might even put him ahead of those guys. Probably not. Probably wouldn't. But he's in that goddamn tier. So if you picked him up a few weeks ago, you feel fucking fantastic. The dude just gets it how he lives it, man. A touchdown pass, 52 yards on the ground, 13 yards and 4 catches through the air and a touchdown. This dude's damn near putting up 20 fucking points a game in PPR leagues for no reason. For no reason. It's crazy. What a stud. Kamara finally had a down game. You know, it's so funny. Kamara came back and like absolutely ripped it. Obviously, the last like 5 weeks, and then every week on TikTok. If you're not following us on TikTok, it's just BDGE _. I put out a video of a guy that I'm trying to sell. Right, like one trade target, one sell per week that I really zone in on. And a week ago was Alvin Kamara, and then Alvin Kamara went out and scored like 3 touchdowns last week. And that video got up to like 300,000 views just because people were shitting on me. And now he has this fucking game. So this game would have been nice last week so that everyone didn't bully me on TikTok. But it's the nature of the best. That's fucking showbiz, baby. Kamara, yeah, it was a weird game. I thought that he would for sure catch like 10 passes because that's kind of what the Bears defense does. They let up short passes to running backs especially. And as you could see, there weren't a ton of like big plays. Kendrick Miller had, a 31-yard gain. I wouldn't really necessarily put it like a big play downfield though. Other than that, not a lot of big plays downfield because that's what the Bears offense or Bears defense typically does. But yeah, it just didn't really happen here for the receivers outside of Olave. Had a nice little bounce back, 6 for 46 and a touchdown, but not really like the buy low type of breakout performance everybody predicts every single week for Chris Olave. We need one of those like 6 for 130 and a touchdown type games for me to feel real confident in him again. Like his 7.7 yards per catch. Those are little mini possession catches, These are not the big fantasy haymakers that we picked you at the end of the second round for. Early second round, mid second round. It's a little gross out there, man. What else do we have? Juwan Johnson finally made a little bit of an impact this year. He had his best game of the year, 5 for 29 and a touchdown, and it absolutely had 0 impact on Taysom Hill. That is what you love to see. Derek Carr continues to be like sneaky, great streamer because they've had great matchups. They play the Vikings next week. They play the Falcons the week after that. Lions are tough, but then they get the Panthers, the Giants, the Rams, the Bucs, who have absolutely just shattered themselves as a pass defense. This might be the easiest passing schedule in the NFL going forward. And I don't even know what useful like transactions you can make on that because everybody's just been saying buy low on Chris Olave for a year. So there's nothing that you could really do there. Maybe Michael Thomas, but I kind of feel like Michael Thomas is not even like the matchup doesn't matter for him. He just goes pretty much like 4 for 40 or he doesn't do shit every single week. Maybe Rashid Shaheed. I don't think you really need to buy him. I don't know. Derek Carr is just the guy that I want on my roster if he's sitting there on the waiver wire. That's how I'll end that. Seahawks got absolutely shitted on. Geno Smith has one of his worst games of the year, which led to everybody else kind of struggling here unfortunately. So not much to take away from the Seattle side. They could just get absolutely nothing going. I still think they're a good team. I still think they'll bounce back and be fine for the rest of the season, but I think it's more so on the opposite side of the ball. Baltimore, man, 37 points. They allow 3 points. On the Athletic podcast today, they were talking about this defense, man, and they are coming. It's like all the signings that they made, all these like underlying guys, the Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Van Noy, Geno Stone, who has a fucking 4 games in a row with a pick. These dudes that they signed are having like absolute career emergences again, like re-emergencing. I'm not even saying it right. I'm so fucking like caught up in this bullshit right now. Everything about this team is clicking all at once, and you're seeing it in the result of production and the scoreboard. So Lamar's playing like an MVP. Their pass catchers are playing well. Again, I still think Mark Andrews is the only one you could trust at all. Zay Flowers is hyped up every single week. He's a buy low every single week and continues to disappoint every single week. Almost never scores touchdowns. Very rarely scores. Very rarely pulls in big plays. He had one target in this game. Not what you love to see. OBJ finally had a good game. Don't care. It's not sticky, not predictive. He'll never be in my lineup. The running back situation is the biggest takeaway here for show. So Keaton Mitchell, guy a lot of people are excited about. He is really explosive. Undrafted guy, but he ran, I want to say like a 4.37 40, and that motherfucker plays like it. He is explosive. He is shifty. He is nifty. He's cute, man. He's a cute little run back out there. He is like the way I'm looking at this situation, in essence, is I think he was the only running back this week to rush for over 100 yards. He is almost like Jaleel McLaughlin, but in arguably the league's best offense. So imagine the Broncos, while Jaleel was breaking out and Javonte Williams was like a slow version of himself like Gus Edwards is, Jaleel would be a lot more valuable. They're not really using him anymore, but it's very, very clear that Keaton Mitchell has earned himself a role in this backfield after this game. He was busting off big fucking plays. And yeah, you could say some of it happened in garbage time. Some of his production happened in garbage time, but he was still playing and getting touches and getting used while it was not garbage time. I want to say in the first half, actually through the first 3 quarters, I want to say it was a tweet from maybe Adam Levitan. Through 3 quarters, I think Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards, or maybe Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill, tied for running back touches. So it was like 8-8 to 5 or something like that. So he was tied for the most running back touches through 3 quarters. So it was not like fluky, just pure garbage time. And he also brings something to this offense that they do not have in the backfield. Gus is obviously like a plotter. He keeps getting into the end zone, scoring touchdowns, which is fantastic for fantasy. Justice Hill he averages like 3 yards a carry every game. So this will probably push Justice Hill out of the rotation quite a bit, and Keaton probably takes over that role. And he is such an explosive player that like this offense is going to open up a lot of running lanes for him. So he's going to be really exciting down the stretch. And again, tomorrow I'll do a full waiver wire video. Probably goes live around 11-12 Eastern time. So make sure you subscribe for that. And Keaton Mitchell, I'm sure, will be on the very tippy top of the list for pickups for Week 10. We also do offer our waiver wire rankings. That's a premium service where we rank every single player. We give you the fab suggestions for the player, whether or not we use our number one waiver wire on the player, so they're ranked against every other flex player. That is on bdge.co if you are a Big Dog member. bdge.co. You could sign up for our waiver wire rankings. We also have our weekly rankings that go into the membership and a private Q and Assault live stream where I'm doing all your sit-star questions, as many as my brain can handle, every single Saturday. So sign up on bdg.co. You will be able to see how high we have Keaton Mitchell ranked. He is so explosive. He is really, really fun to watch. So excited to see how he fits into this offense. And he's definitely carved out a role here. The Bucs Texans, man. Game of the fucking week. Possibly game of the year. Or at least CJ Stroud's drive was the drive of the year. Baker scores with like fucking 50 seconds left. CJ Stroud marches down the field, scores with 0 seconds left pretty much. Just an awesome game all around, man. An awesome game all around. Baker played really well. Rachaad White continues to be ineffective on the ground, but again, this is something I've kind of been yapping about for a month or so now. They simply just don't have any other options in the backfield. Like they try to make Keyshawn Vaughn work. They try to make Chase Edmonds work. It's just those guys stink. And Rachaad White, 3.5, 3.7 yards per carry. Relative to the other dudes, that is actually good. It's actually good, man. So Rachaad White continues to be just a volume plug-and-play top 15, top 18 running back. And in big games like this, obviously, his ceiling will be really high because he gets some touchdowns. The other takeaway here is Cade Otton has been playing a full-time role for the Buccaneers as their starting tight end, obviously, and is starting to translate into production. Led the team with 9 targets, which is a really high target share. But I want to say that's like something that's happened week after week after week. He's getting 6+ targets for nearly a month straight now. And obviously he'll have some flop games, but he's becoming like a real part of this offense, and he's emerging as a young up-and-coming tight end. So that's something to keep an eye on in good matchups. Baker tends to struggle when he gets under pressure a lot. This was not one of those. On the flip side, CJ Stroud just smashed fucking every record ever. 470 through the air, 5 fucking touchdowns, 11.2 yards per attempt. This was the single best rookie quarterback day of all time, unsurprisingly. Unbelievable day. It led to just everybody in this offense eating. No matter who you started in this offense in the passing game, that person ate. Noah Brown, 6 for 153 and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz, 10 for 130 and a touchdown. Tank Dell, 6 for 114, 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins, 3 for 54, but he got in the end zone too. Everybody ate. Everybody continues to eat with CJ Stroud, man. Their running back game is useless basically at this point. But I love it. I kind of love that they're being forced into passing the ball all the time because it's leading to big plays. And it's leading to them being good. Like, imagine they just kept trying to force the ball into Mike Boone and Devin Singletary's hands. There's no way they win this game. There's just no chance. So Stroud, man, what a fun fucking player. What an awesome, awesome player. Face of the franchise. You got to be, honestly, I'm happy for the Texans fans because they had that just snatched right from under them with Deshaun Watson. Watson was one of the most enjoyable, young, up-and-coming franchise QBs. And then the fans got rug pulled. Texans take one little pivot. They take a down year. They go, hey, we got to readjust. And they dive right back into it. And CJ Stroud is the truth, man. His arm is so real. It's so accurate. He's so good under pressure. What a bright future. And, like, I don't know, dude. On paper, right now, it's really easy to be like, yeah, these weapons are really good too. But if Stroud was struggling, we would probably be sitting here saying, like, of course he's struggling. Look at the weapons that they surrounded him with. He is a dude that's elevating every part of this fucking offense. He's making Tank Dell one of the best rookies that we've seen in quite a while, man. He's awesome. And Tank Dell's awesome, like, by himself. But I'm saying, like, the way Stroud is playing, he is not even making you second guess about dudes like Nico Collins or Tank Dell. Dalton Schultz is rolling right now. When Noah Brown becomes a force to be reckoned with, your quarterback's really fucking good. We'll put it that way, okay? So Stroud he just continues to be a guy that you could feel really good about having a nice-ass safe floor and good matchups. On the flip side, I do want to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing defense is atrocious. They have been just ripped apart. Texans, Josh Allen. This wasn't a good game by us, but even Desmond Ridder threw for 250 passing yards. Jared Goff ate them a lot. Like, the Tampa Bay Bucs passing defense is one that you want to fucking target. Who do they play next? They play the Titans, so Will Levis could pop. They play Brock Purdy after that. Gardner Minshew. Like, I'd probably start all those guys against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pass defense because they ain't it. Put it that way. Colts, Panthers. The story of this game, one, Jonathan Taylor completely took back over the backfield from Zach Moss. He played on like 80% of the snaps. He also was super involved in the passing game. 5 targets, 5 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown. So good to see him back. They struggled on the ground altogether, though. Josh Downs came into the game banged up, left the game banged up. He might be in for a little bit of time missed. We'll have to kind of just keep an eye on that. Story of the game, realistically, was Bryce Young really struggled. Three interceptions. 2 of them went for pick sixes to fucking Kenny Moore, man. One player had 2 defensive touchdowns in this game. Your team never had a chance with that. So Bryce Young continues to struggle. Again, not surprising, though. Like, the team is just so bad. The situation you went into, no quarterback, no rookie quarterback was going to play well in the Carolina Panthers offense. CJ Stroud would probably be struggling in this offense. Chuba has completely taken over the backfield to Miles Sanders. I'm not a big fan of Chuba. I don't think he's that great, but, like, if he's going to catch fucking 4 passes, for nothing in PPR league. I started him in a PPR league in a flex spot. He got me like 11 points. Didn't do anything, but he got me 11 points, and that's kind of the usage here. Maybe Miles Sanders earned a little bit more work because he was so much more efficient than Chuba Hubbard was, but it's not looking great for him. Adam Thielen also had a down game, but I guess that just kind of happens when you have the offense run the way that it did today. Giants, Raiders. Daniel Jones tore his ACL. Not great. I don't really know what to say. They're probably the worst team in football right now with Tommy DeVito running the show there. Saquon, they're gonna kill him. They're literally gonna kill Saquon. I hope he has insurance out on his bodily parts. I wonder if you could sue a franchise. Like, can you sue the team that you're on? Because Saquon should probably sue them already for the amount of harm that they're going to put him in. So that's just tough for the Giants, tough for everything out there in New York, man. Just a tough football season for the New York teams. What else is fucking new? The Raiders, Antonio Pierce, former Giant great, takes over as the head coach. I'm sure you guys have seen all the rumors and reports about Josh McDaniels and the meetings and all that shit, so I won't jump into it, so it didn't matter. But they clearly had something that they were playing for here. Josh Jacobs, 26 for 98 on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Myers gets in on an end around. The passing game was kind of miserable again, but listen, they won 30-6, so I don't think anybody is complaining too much about it. But yeah, Devontae Adams continues to be a little bit disappointing. Aiden O'Connell's, I mean, they didn't need to do anything, right? When Josh Jacobs can carry the ball 26 times, the offense doesn't necessarily need to do anything. But obviously, there will be tougher matchups ahead. They have the Jets next week, and then the Dolphins, Chiefs, Vikings, Chargers, Chiefs, Colts. So you don't imagine a ton of game scripts like 30-6. So I think we'll see, a bounce back from Jacoby, a bounce back from Devontae, or at least like volume-wise, they can't go anywhere else. Dallas, Philly, this is a great game. Another great game. Dak played out of his mind. Tony Pollard did the opposite of that for the 97th time in a row. Can't wait to see him on some more buy low trade target lists again. It's just not there. It ain't happening. It ain't fucking happening. I'll tell you what is happening though. CeeDee Lamb, he is going bonkers. I love the way that Dallas and this offense and just this team overall has operated post-bye. 44 pass attempts to 15 running back attempts. Actually, that's 14 running back attempts. Take out Dak and you take out Turpin. Those are 7 non-running back attempts. So you're talking about 44 passes to 14 running back carries. That's that shit. And it's not like Philly was up dominating the game. At halftime, Dallas is winning. If that is the case, man, this Dallas offense is going to continue to eat in the passing game at least. CD 11 for 191 coming off of a game last week where he went, what did he do last week? 14 for 158, 2 touchdowns. The game prior to that, 7 for 117. So this dude is now, he's starting to pile together some A.J. Brown type beats over here. He puts together 1 or 2 more of those games. He's going to be setting some Cowboys receiver records real soon. So CeeDee Lamb is going bonkers right now. Jake Ferguson, he was one of my summer loves. He was one of the dudes that got me hurt. And I'm ready to get hurt again because he's starting to cook a little bit too. He is like the number 2 guy here in this offense because Michael Gallup stinks. Brandon Cooks, nowhere to be found. Jalen Tolbert was a rookie that I fucking really liked coming out in college. And this is like the first time he's getting any sort of serious run. I got to see his snap counts. What's going on with the Tolbert-inator? Brandon Cooks still ran 87% of the routes. Michael Gallup is the one who took a big hit. So Gallup's down to 51%, 49% over the last 2 weeks. Tolbert, simultaneously, you could see his routes start to jump up. 44%, 43%. Target per route run this previous week, 22%. So as you can see, his catchable target rates are really, really low, though. Like, didn't have a ton of targets in week 8, but none of them were catchable. This week, 60% of his targets were catchable, and the ADOT was 17 yards downfield. It's kind of sexy. 40% of the end zone targets, too. Jalen Tolbert's a dude to keep an eye on, okay? He is a dude to keep an eye on in deeper leagues. I really liked him coming out of college, and the way that this offense is operating right now with how pass-heavy they are. Look at this matchup schedule they got going forward. There's not a single defense on here that I'm worried about. The Giants next week, Panthers, Commanders, Seahawks, Eagles. Eagles, great run D. You can have them through there. I mean, they literally just played the Eagles, and CeeDee Lamb just went for 190 yards. The Bills, the Dolphins. Oh man, this is like the opposite of the way that they started the year. This is going to be beautiful down the stretch for Dak, CeeDee, and Jake Ferguson. I want all of it. On the other side, Philly, I don't know. Hurts had a good game. Kind of got banged up. Should be fine. I think they got a bye this upcoming. Let's check out who's got the byes this week. Should have that info going in, shouldn't I? Week 10 buys, we have the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Eagles. So Hurts should be good after the bye. The Dolphins should have Devon Chan back after the bye. The Rams should have Stafford and Kyron Williams back after the bye. And the Chiefs should still be a good football team after the bye. So with the Eagles, A.J. Brown kind of came down to earth again. Still got in the end zone, 7 for 66 and a touchdown. Devonta Smith has been a curious case, man. He's really not putting up numbers. I will say, though, Dallas Goedert, I believe, fractured his arm. Let's see if we got anything new here. Fractured forearm. We don't know. He could be put on the injured reserve. But the point I wanted to take away is that Devonta Smith last year in games where Goddard missed, right here. In that sample, Devonta Smith, weeks 11 to 15 last year, 8.4 targets per game, 84 receiving yards per game. Just a really, really nice run with Dallas Goedert out, and maybe that's what he needed to get the fantasy season started for himself. I mean, 3 for 51, saved himself with a touchdown, obviously, but overall it's been relatively disappointing. Where does he rank this year? Wow, okay. Devonta Smith, is this overall this year? Devonta Smith still the wide receiver 17. Olave wide receiver 18, so I don't know, I guess it could be worse, but he's just, I thought there was a little more upside there. He's just not really showing it on a week-to-week basis, unfortunately. But probably brighter days ahead for him with Dallas Goedert out. Him and A.J. Brown are going to get so many fucking targets, man. Who's behind him? Jack Stoll, he's not really a pass catcher. Albert O reappears from the dead. There's no one in the tight end room that I want to pick up here. DeAndre Swift really hasn't played well in quite a while. He's not efficient on the ground, but like rather than go to Kenneth Gainwell, they're going to keep giving him carries, I think, because Gainwell did get in, but DeAndre Swift, I think, fumbled twice. Yeah, he fumbled twice in this game. Something to keep an eye on. You know, if he keeps doing that, like at worst, the Eagles are very, very aware that Kenneth Gainwell's not as good as DeAndre Swift at running back. But it's also very, very clear that they trust Kenneth Gainwell. They trust him, right? Not a lot of upside, but they know that he won't fuck things up. So when they get into crunch time, Swift keeps fumbling, man. Gainwell could carve out a bigger role. And that's nothing to say about me wanting Kenneth Gainwell. That's more of an indictment on the possibility of where DeAndre Swift's value could go from here. Bills, Bengals. Joe Burrow, so fucking back. Joe Burrow, so back. Good to see a big T. Higgins game. 8 for 110. 9 targets. Jamar Chase kind of had a down game there, but still had 8 targets. He'll be fine, of course. On the flip side, Josh Allen. This Bills team is just kind of struggling, man, to compete with like the really good teams in the AFC, and it's a little. I'm not gonna say it's puzzling, I guess, when they lose like 3 or 4 of their best players on defense. This is gonna happen, of course, but it has clearly affected them to a very high degree, and like you're starting fantasy players against the Bills defense all the time. Diggs 8, 6 for 86 and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid continues his breakout campaign right now with Dawson Knox out. God, I hope Knox is out for like a long period of time. This is again like he is going to be the Justin Watson of tight ends now, where it's like Knox is not good. He's not anywhere near as good as Dalton Kincaid, but as soon as he steps foot back on the field, it like ruins the momentum that Kincaid had. But for now, you keep starting Diggs, obviously. You keep starting Dalton Kincaid. Khalil Shakur had back-to-back pretty good games. He was coming off of a big one last week. Let's see what his snap utilization was in this one, following it back up. Gabe Davis still full-time. Diggs obviously full-time. Yep. Khalil Shakur again, 75% of the routes. A little bit less targeted, but still very, very clearly like involved in the passing game. They're going 3 wide receivers very often with only Dalton Kincaid at tight end. So that means that Shakir should probably continue to play a really high number of snaps and continue to get looks. Play against the Broncos next week. We've actually, this is a pretty tough stretch of defenses here. Broncos and Jets are both very, very good against the pass, obviously. So I'm not really trusting Shakir as anything more than like, a flex play. If that. But good to see him just like continuing to run routes and not dipping off. James Cook, really disappointing day there. I think you still kind of just start him unless you have better options. That's yeah, thank you. Right. Very, very useful. It's how fantasy football works. You start a guy unless you have a better option. What else do we got here? Are there any injuries that I missed? Are there any other bigger injuries that I kind of missed? I don't think so. All right. What else do we got here, people? That's the recap. That's the game-by-game recap. We done did it, 55 minutes. That's a world record. How's the chat doing? Have I been on mute this whole time? That's crazy. No one told me. Now here's a guy. Slips, please. All right, let's do some underdog slips. Fuck it. Do some slipperonis for tonight's game. We too zoomed in here. Zoom out. Okay. For tonight's game, one thing that pops off the screen to me is Eckler's receiving yards, because we have to remember two things. We have to remember Mike Williams is out, and we have to remember Josh Palmer is also out. And when those guys are out, Eckler seems to get an insane amount of targets and receiving game work. So I'm going to go 33.5 receiving yards higher for Austin Eckler. That is like one of the big storylines, right? We have the Jets, really good passing defense, but they can be had by running backs through the air, okay? That can happen. If you look at this list, you guys can't see because I'm cutting it off like a piece of sheesh. They are currently allowing the fourth most receptions to the running back position. They are currently allowing the sixth most receiving yards to the running back position. This all kind of just lines up for that to be an easy over on Austin Eckler with the with his teammates out for this game. So first slip for sure is Eckler over 33.5 receiving yards. Again, if you're new to Underdog, if you have never created a slip, you have never done a best ball draft, what you got to do is head over to the site, underdogfantasy.com. Just use the link down below in the description. It'll take you right to the App Store to download it. Deposit with code BDGE. If you deposit with code BDGE, they're going to hit you with a 100% deposit match. Whatever you deposit, you will have double that on your account to play with. Okay, so the obvious next choice would say, hey, Keenan Allen, of course he's gonna eat with those guys out, and I think that's probably the case. But I think it'll be a little bit. I'd imagine their entire defense is going to be zoned in on Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnson, how we doing, buddy? What's he been up to? Coming off of his strongest game, 5 for 50. I want to take something here with Johnson. He's going to be a full-time player. They did activate Jalen Guyton. I don't think there's going to be a Jalen Guyton line, though I kind of wish there was. I like the Quentin Johnston line here. I'm not sure exactly what I like. I think I like both of them, to be honest. But I probably feel best with the receptions because Johnson's a big yak guy, which makes me think they're probably going to try some around the line of scrimmage stuff. Let him get involved in screens, let his confidence kind of get up a little bit in the beginning of the game. And obviously screens are easy catches to hit here. So I like taking the receiving lines, or the reception lines, I should say, just for the fact that when it's not at the hook, like when it's a flat line, you could still hit 3 and it'll push, and you won't lose that slip. So we'll go there. We got to hit a Jets. What do we like for the Jets? God, I don't like anything for the Jets. What's Zach Wilson been doing on the ground? Like 13.5 rushing yards seems super valid. What's he done? 25 yards last week, 15 the week before that, 26 the week before that. He's been nailing that number. That feels low. That feels a little low. He's an athlete. And he'll probably be under pressure with Khalil Mack and Bosa and whatnot tonight. So I could see that number for sure being up there. Breece Hall's so exciting. He's like one of those dudes you see on a slip and you just want to take the more on every one of these. But I think we're probably going to hold steady here. I think we're going to hold steady at Eckler, higher than 33.5 receiving yards. Quentin Johnson, higher than 3 receptions. And Zach Wilson, higher than 13.5 rushing yards. Yep. We're going to chill right there. We'll throw a 50 spot on it. You're going to 6X. You can go 6X your money. Share my picks in the Discord right quick. Discord, free to join, always. All right. That's the game-by-game recap for this week. I'm going to upload this to the podcast feed as well. If you are just kind of tuning in now, want to watch it from the beginning or listen to it from the beginning, but you're an audio person, because that's what I do. I don't watch YouTube videos. I listen to podcasts all the time. So it's insane to me that you guys watch this shit. But I'm glad you do, right? Because I'd be out of fucking business. All right. Well, thank you again. We'll be back every Monday doing this. We'll also be back tomorrow for our waiver wire video, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn notifications on. Now you can untuck your shirts and proceed with your day. Love you.